Animal transportation is associated with major welfare concerns, and a number of factors have increased transportation in modern farming systems. Production chains are often quite segmented, so it's not uncommon for animals such as cows to be born on one farm, transported to another to be raised, to travel to a marketplace, to be purchased by another farmer, and finally transported to the slaughterhouse. The greatest animal welfare concerns relate to live exports of animals by sea. The global value of the live export trade has been increasing at around about 4% annually and is now worth about $10 billion per year. Australia has the world's largest live export trade. Australia exports some 6 million sheep per year and about 1 million cattle from around 18 ports to about 40 overseas destinations, mostly in the Middle East and Southeast Asia. They're transported to feedlots, they're loaded, they experience a sea voyage, they're unloaded and handled. In total, there's probably about 5 to 6 episodes where they're handled, and the entire process takes 1 to 2 months. On board the ships, the sheep are typically crammed around about 100 into an 8 metre by 4 metre pen. The clinical signs of transport stress include things like weight loss, dehydration, bruising. Other potential stresses include things like noise, changes in lighting patterns, and also motion sickness. In the Australian live export industry, about 3/4 of all deaths occur on the ships, with about another fifth occurring in the discharge ports. The biggest causes of mortality are failure to eat or inappetence, which accounts for about a half of all the deaths on board, followed by salmonellosis, the bacterial contamination, which accounts for about a fifth of all deaths. A smaller proportion, around 10%, die from trauma, injuries sustained during loading and unloading or on board the ships. In cattle, the main causes of deaths are heat stroke, respiratory disease, otherwise known as shipping fever, and trauma, i.e. physical injuries. If these highly stressed animals are kept on board the ships for more than a few days beyond what is intended, the death rates can rise quite dramatically. So it's important that they be offloaded into better environments with better ventilation as soon as possible. The International Air Transport Association is the world's trade organisation for airlines. They publish the Global Live Animal Regulations, which is the worldwide standard for the transportation of animals by air, including lots of information about things like enclosure size, the temperatures and the pressures that need to be maintained in the holds of aircraft. When animals are transported by road, it's important to plan journeys to try to minimise travel times and also try to ensure smooth journeys, and that the animals are offloaded upon arrival without having to wait until the next morning. Horses and cattle are usually carried in single-tier vehicles. Sheep and pigs are usually carried in vehicles with 2 or 3 tiers, and animals like poultry and rabbits are usually carried in stackable crates. If the stocking density is too high, then the animals will be too crowded. Those that fall down may be trampled upon and unable to rise. They may suffer from bruising. If the stocking density is too low, the animals may not be supported as the truck is going around corners. It's important that animals such as horses and cattle and sheep on short journeys are given enough space to be able to stand up. Other animals are provided with enough space to be able to lie down, particularly on longer journeys. And if there is food and water provided on the trucks, there needs to be enough space available to access these. A fully loaded livestock truck can result in quite an increase in ambient temperature because of the body temperature of the animals, particularly cattle. So it can be important, particularly in hot weather, to ensure adequate ventilation, and likewise in very cold weather it can be important to ensure adequate protection from the elements. The training and attitudes of the drivers is extremely important. As well as ensuring good and smooth route planning, drivers need to be careful to ensure gentle cornering, gentle braking for the animals. It's important to have payment systems that pay drivers based upon the condition in which the livestock arrive, the amount of bruising, for example, on the carcasses, instead of the amount of livestock that they can transport in a set period of time, which encourages higher speeds of driving. In order to improve the welfare of animals transported by road, a number of strategies are warranted, and these include educating consumers about the welfare problems associated with transportation, encouraging the alternate consumption of locally sourced, relatively high welfare alternatives, encouraging the establishment of well-equipped and maintained local slaughterhouses. In developing countries, there are some relatively simple things that can often be done. such as simply building loading and unloading ramps for trucks, which would mean that animals don't need to be simply thrown off the trucks, as unfortunately we've often seen. Also, the use of experienced livestock handlers and basic training can be helpful.